um, well, might as well get started on this. It'll be good for the recording anyways. And I mean, if you guys have, this is a review for you two, but at least maybe we'll get something out of it. So I was going to go over 1 points, um, and just kind of talk about setting them up, um, what kind of thought goes into the composition, um, how to kind of set the camera up and everything else, or what I do. And then I was going to go through a little bit of the lighting and how to process it. Just real quick though, not anything too crazy or whatever. But so let me start sharing screens. All right. Can you guys see?
Yep.
All right. All right, cool. So I think the first thing to, about thinking about it in a 1 point is you're going to probably showcase the symmetry of a room or of the scene. So lining things up and making sure the furniture is lined up right, and all the room features and everything are dialed in, and that the shot actually works, um, is the first thing. So sometimes if you're going to shoot like a dining room or something and you want to do a 1 point, but say the room is kind of shaped funny and there's only one way the table is going to work in that room, and then the light's hanging down and the light's like off to the side from the table or something like that, I wouldn't even bother shooting that if that's the situation. So just making sure that it works in the first place is the first thing that you have to do, because otherwise I would just go find a 2 point or find something else that works for that shot. So it just has to work, first of all. Um, Second thing I like to think about is uh, kind of showing how there's some flow through the room. Um, like in here, I have this, the walkway that'll carry you through to the end of this little area. Um, in the bedroom shot here, like even if there's something that's blocking half of the frame in the front in the foreground, like at least there's a way to walk around here and I can see some space. And even here, like having the space kind of come off into the distance and having some room to walk through here, is, that's another thing I look for. It does, I don't typically I wouldn't shoot one like straight over an island where there's no floor or something like that. I just try to make sure that there's some kind of path for the eye to like walk through the frame. Um, and then something else that we talked about last time with Scott Francis tutorial that I like to bring into all my photography too, every time I'm lining up a shot, is going to be um, the foreground, middle ground, background kind of idea. So in this one, we got some elements in the foreground. What's up, Daniel? um, and then a little bit of the middle ground here, which I would say usually the subject is in the middle ground. So the subject here would be more like the range and the sink here. And then background in this one would be this back wall, just so there's like those elements are happening in the photo. Um, and sometimes it doesn't work exactly like that. Like this shot doesn't have a lot of foreground stuff going on. It's just kind of the subject. But it's just something, try to think about all that. And then, like we discussed a little bit last time too, using the rule of thirds to help balance out things. Like, I know that the bottom line of the rule of thirds is running through these things, which, this is important, the sink's important. And then you want to find those dominant lines that the other, like the vertical lines could line up on, maybe on like this little line on the fridge, or maybe these ends of the cabinets, or something around there. But you want to use those dominant features and those dominant lines. Try to place the rule of thirds lines around those things just for good balance and help the viewer digest the image. Um, so those are the things that I think about as far as like if it's going to work or not. So if everything meets the requirements, and I'll move on to like setting up the camera. First thing I'm going to do is line it up center. So there's a trick I use, and I used it here. I'm gonna find whatever's hanging that, most of the time if there's a light feature or something hanging in the, it's gonna be center. Sometimes it's not. But when it is, I'm gonna find that thing hanging down. If it's a chain or if there's like a beam running down the center of a room and you're trying to line that up and there's lights hanging from that, zoom in on this area and try to make sure that that chain or whatever's hanging is like lined up perfectly on that centerpiece. So I tried to line up the center of this lighting feature with or this, whatever this is, a chandelier or sconce or I don't know, but hanging in like the center of it is going to be center with the window, so that's part of that symmetry thing. And I'll even zoom in to try to make sure that that's lined up. If your camera's turned a little bit and you can still see that part that's lined up dead straight, no matter how your camera turns, it's still going to be dead center. So that's, even if you're punched in and you're just trying to find that little, you move your camera a little inch or a half inch or whatever, once you get it, you're good, because now you know that the camera's set up center on that item. And then I'm going to start going through and like leveling the camera. So then I'm going to just make sure that the level on the camera is straight. Um, and then I'm going to go through and kind of just like turn the camera so that the horizontal lines are straight. So I'm going to kind of punch in, zoom in and out with it, get the top line close to this line so you could actually see if it's going across straight or not. This one, I mean, it's not super perfect, but it's pretty close. And then I'm going to level it out vertically. So then I'll try to punch in close to like this line on the edge and make sure that these lines are straight, just how this is lining up here. I have my vertical straight on that one. It looks like I have my vertical straight on this window. So, but I would use this door here or this line here to try to, just adjust my up and down tilt. Um, then I'm going to zoom in and just check edges on everything else. Like, do I want, you know, any of this stuff here? Is there anything bothering me? I missed this part right here. Like I should have moved this little staging item over a little bit so that it wasn't competing with this little, I don't even know what that thing's called, but like where the water comes out if it's over, like overflowing in the dishwasher or something. I don't know. But I try to find anything on the edges that's bothering me and I'll either zoom in or zoom out to, get where I need to be at. Um, but that's pretty much it as far as lining up the shot. Um,
Gary,
then
do you ever find that the level on your camera, like on the tripod, is like way off versus like
yeah,
Yep.
yep,
what
yeah,
do you do
and
for that? Anything?
that's that's why I end up I start checking the lines, like the horizontal lines at the top of the frame and the side ones. Like I would zoom in to see if the camera edge would line up at the bottom and if it would line up at the top, like up here, if those if they're both straight, like if they're both parallel, then you know that your your camera is pointed in the right direction, and then
Hmm.
I start paying attention to the vertical lines. So then you got to kind of, if you have to make little micro adjustments to try to get these vertical lines straight. See how like this one's pretty close. You can see how it trails off at the top a little bit, like it might have been pointing up a hair. Um, but then sometimes the rooms aren't straight either. So like just trying to get it as close as you can. I zoom in, zoom out, and just I start looking at every line that I could try to get close to like the edge of the frame, because that's when it's going to become apparent. Like there's a bigger gap here than over here, then you have to turn your camera a little bit,
Yeah.
or tilt it, either way. But the first like after you get the camera centered in position, then I'm going to check the level just to kind of get me in the ballpark. And then I'm going to go through and fine tune on edges from zooming in and zooming out. Or on a tilt shift, like I'll tilt all the way up so I can see how that, this bottom horizontal line is lining up against the frame. Or I'll even look at these like wood panels or whatever I can find to try to help
Yeah.
me determine whether it's straight or not, or and then sometimes you're sitting there for 5 minutes and you're like, what is going on? And you just realize that the wall isn't plumb or something, and you're just like, well,
Yeah,
I'm
been
gonna
there.
do what I can, and I'll fix this later in post. Um, but yeah, it's the 1 points are tough, man. Like they don't they're not like tough as far as like, I'm just gonna sit here and shoot a straight against the wall, but it's hard to set it up and actually get it perfect. And that's why it's good to take those extra few minutes to get the composition right, because if this happens to me all the time too, is like if you're moving too fast and you set up a 1 point and it's not like, you don't punch in and make sure that this thing's hanging dead center with the beam or whatever, and it's off a little bit, you're going to notice when you get into a big screen, and then that stuff bothers me like crazy. um I shot this
Um,
really nice house, and all the lights, all the can lights were straight, like they're built straight, but I had it off a little, and I could see how like it kind of tilted off, and I grabbed everything and straightened it later in post because it just bothers me. What are you gonna say?
do you ever use like a rule of thirds grid or anything like that?
And it's all in my camera on an overlay,
Mhm.
and I also have it on my Cam Ranger as an overlay. See, and there's little stupid things I miss. I should have turned this handle upwards. Um, that stuff bothers the hell out of me. Um, and I'm never going to be able to unsee that. But I'll go and fix this in post now that I saw that. um,
Yeah,
um,
you're a bit extreme. That's
yeah,
good.
it's my clients like it, and
Yeah,
if it's going to
so it
take me an
matters.
extra 2 minutes, yeah, it's going to take me an extra 2 minutes to do it later. So whatever, like it's worth it for me. But it's honestly, it's just like, it's my own OCD that I'm trying to cater to. I don't think my client would notice, and I don't think anybody's going to really notice unless you're just sitting here pixel peeping. Like, but that's what we do, right? Like, I
Yeah.
got to pay attention to the details. Um, but anyhow, so then the next thing I think about is how I'm going to light it. My favorite way to light 1 points is like this. I call it like side to side lighting, and I just try to put myself as far into one side of the frame, and I want to be in the frame. This is Dave. This is part of making the light a little more interesting in the room when it's flat or something like this image right
Right.
here. Um, Let me go into develop real quick.
Yeah, I try to do that. I was I brought it up because, a lot of people are looking to find ways of how to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So when so the source of light here is coming. There's a window off to the right, and then there's a giant window behind me. But most of the light is pretty flat in this room, and that's why I like to do those. Let me get rid of this whole thing. Um, I like to light from inside the frame and like be in the picture, because then you're getting those shadows in the foreground. Like the shadows are towards on the camera side, which makes for more depth and everything. So that's kind of how I would make light more interesting in the room, is just, I'm going to take this ambient frame, but then when I do my lighting later, I'm going to try to make it a little more dynamic and create some gradients by shooting, light inside the frame, not shooting from behind the camera. Even here, it's the same thing. Like I'm shooting over here so that the shadows are coming camera side on the bed, and this frame is the same thing. I just like to be in the frame so that the light's coming towards the camera. Um,
Why do I
but
always look directly at the flash? I do it
I
every time.
yeah, I do it, and then like I have the beeps are on so I can hear it, and like it's just second nature now that right when it's done beeping, I blink for a second and I don't look right at the frame, but I end up, I don't know. And then sometimes I forget to, and I'm blind for 10 seconds, but it just is what it is, dude. Um, I'm gonna go through and just process this one real quick and show how this is what like a gray mask edit. That's what I call this one. So, and then Daniel, you asked about like consistent lighting, so or a consistent color in the frame, right? So something I try to do is and it's only if I need to, like sometimes the color balance thing is touchy, it works sometimes and it doesn't work sometimes. Like if I hit auto on this, it turns everything super yellow at 7,000 Kelvin, which is too high for me. But you could go through and maybe hit this towel here. That's a better place for me. And then I would do the same thing on these. Like I'm going to white balance off this towel and see if it works. I like the wall better. So I'm going to try to white balance off of the same area again, though. So now these two frames should be pretty similar, even though I can tell they're not. Maybe I'll try from this side. There we go. Because now the light's hitting this wall the same as it was on this side.
So would like if you get the color temperature good for say that one, could you not just copy the same one to the other flash?
You could. And sometimes I know my color temperature for my flash, and a lot of the time this works perfect. Just 5,010. It looks a little bit cool here, but most of the time this works pretty well. But you could go up to 5,200. I think that's what it was when we did the auto. You can do that. Sometimes it still doesn't work. It kind of depends on what you're bouncing off of, though. Like if I'm bouncing something that has where I got a nice neutral point to flash off of, and then it's bouncing in, but then on this side of the room there's a painted wall or something like that, then it's gonna introduce different color casts, So really, dude, it's half like your tools and then half your eye, It's just gonna have to be something you mess with.
Also,
Another thing I try to
you don't want
go
to
ahead.
include your ambient one if you're going to sync them, because that white balance is going to be different from the
Totally.
flash. Yeah.
Yep. So a lot of it just depends. It's kind of a thing that you constantly just have to pay attention to. I can see in some of these other frames that the white balance is off, like these two. One looks warmer than the other one does, so you do have to just go through and mess with it a little bit. But it was probably recorded. This one's at 5,600 and this one's recorded at 5,400. So these probably, I mean, they would match, but they were even recorded differently. So you just have to kind of go through and make sure that they're, that they're correct. Okay, so I'm gonna reverse these layers. Here's my ambient on top. And then here's like my little gray mask edit. So you could just add a mask and then go to here, fill.
I don't know about
with,
the rest of you guys, but I see Lightroom right now.
oh yeah,
I think you had that issue last time, yeah.
that's exactly, yeah, I forgot to minimize it. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Start that. Let me start that over.
Yeah, Gary,
All right,
why do you use a grayscale map instead of a black or a white map?
I'll show you exactly why.
Okay.
I'll show you why right now. Okay, so so here we're starting over. So in Photoshop, when it imports or whatever, it has the ambient on top. So I always want to reverse those. I'm going to work my flash layers first, and then in my blend action, it wants the ambient layer on the bottom. So just always put the ambient stuff on the bottom. So gray mask. This is why I use it. I'm going to show you how to make it real quick. So you add a mask, and then you can go up here to edit and just go to fill, and then 50% gray. You can, it has a bunch of things you can choose here. 50% gray, and now basically that's a 50% opacity on top of this one. So you're only messing with one layer, but you can see two layers in here, right? Mm-hmm. The reason I use the gray mask is because I like how these two frames blend together in the middle parts, like I don't want there to be a strict overlap, like where you're going to see a line potentially. I want it to be kind of soft. But in this part, now I can paint on here, black or white, and reveal or hide whatever I want to hide. So when I start with the gray mask, but I have a black brush, right? So in this frame, I'm on this side. So now I gotta make sure to paint this part out, but I want to leave this. So what I'm gonna do is take a black brush at 100% flow, 100% opacity. I'm just gonna start working it from the edge, and I'm gonna brush myself out. So I'm brushing the top layer off, basically. I'm hiding the top layer. So you can see how it's hidden here on the gray mask. Now I'm going to switch to a white brush. You just push X, and now it's going to change my brush color to white. And I'm going to start painting from the edge in this way. And I'm going to paint myself in from this layer. Or I'm painting myself out, but I'm painting that layer in. So now, there we go. So from this, you throw this mask on and paint in and out half of it, and you have this flash frame here. And you can see how there's like that little bit of highlight that's coming in from the center. I don't want there to be a line here, that's why I use a gray mask. And same thing down here. You can still see how, let's look at the mask. There's still some gray down here, so that's still blending a little bit. There's even a little bit of blending happening at the center, but you can see like what's painted in and what's painted out of this mask, and that's what creates this, the illusion that nobody was in the frame. And that also would help with controlling reflections in the windows. If I was off camera lighting and you could see my reflection in here or something, you can, paint in or paint out those little things. If you have to get in a little bit closer and do like some work on the window or whatever, you can. But it's basically just the easiest way to mask in, two things. And you can even see like there's still that little bit of a line here. So I'm gonna just paint over that. And just make sure that like sometimes like your shoe might get caught in there, or where you didn't brush enough, you might be able to see a little hint of what was happening. So that's why we just kind of paint in half and half. So I'm going to merge those down. So now we have the single flash layer, and then I'm just going to hit my 2-layer blend. There we go. So now it's kind of mixing both. I'm going to paint in the window to full blast on this because I like my windows pretty blue sometimes. And then you can check and see if there's anything that the ambient frame brings that, the flash frames. I don't think so. I think that's it. I mean, that would be the done image for me. Oops. So back to Lightroom. So as it comes in, there we go. And then I just hit my final preset finishing. And then I'm just gonna make sure that the lines are all straight. So we'll pull this grid up and just make sure everything's straight. The top doesn't look perfect. So I would go into the guides and just kind of straighten this thing out. Then I'll go down here onto the floor, make sure those planks are straight. And then let's see, where's a good one? Sometimes it's tough to find a good line to drag across on. Something like that. But that's pretty much that. Now, with color corrections and stuff, I'd probably go in here just because I want to neutralize some of this. Grab that, we can bring the refinement down and then desaturate. Go like 25. There we go. That'll be that for that room. Any questions on that one?
Nope, looks good.
Okay. All right. So let's do these are all pretty much the same thing. Let's do this one. just because this isn't really side to side lighting. This is a little bit of the kind of enhancing and off camera lighting, more or less. So same thing here. Just hit the ambient. Then I'm going to hit a flash layer interior. Get to my little point there. I'm going to just hit auto white balance. I think that helped. Now I'll probably sync that. And we can bring that down a scotch. All right. See, those white balances are different here, but they look pretty similar to me. So we'll see if that affects anything. This one looks a little cool. Okay. Bring those in. And minimize that. All right. So same thing here. I'm just gonna reverse layers so I can have ambient on the bottom, and I'm gonna work these two flash layers. The only reason I did this frame here is so I could kind of bring up the lighting in the center and have something like happening on these cabinets here. But I had my other camera or my other light already set up over here. The 400 was kind of just pointed off into the other room, just banging back this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a gray mask on here. And then I actually like how this frame wasn't as bright over on this side. So I'm going to brush that in over here. And then I'm going to brush in the cabinets. Some of this area maybe. And then this cabinet. Let's get all that in there. So now we can see that the mask is it's revealing more and more. But then I'm going to switch to black and I'm going to paint myself out in this hot spot. And you can kind of feather it a little bit, just get off a little bit past where the hot spot was, so that way it looks even there. So now this is only pulling from that other frame, so there should be no problems there. Make sure I'm at 100, and I'm gonna just paint myself out the center. There we go. So now we have that flash frame built. You can see the mask here. It's basically white everywhere, a little bit of gray at the bottom, but black where I was. So that's perfect. Merge that down, 2-layer blend, and then we're just going to go over here, brush in some of this darkness to help kill those highlights. And then looking pretty good. Something I might do is get a dodge and burn layer, and then I'm just going to give a little hit. And that's too much. Go to 10% when you do that instead of 100, because 100 is crazy. There we go. So now you can see this matches. Oops. Oh, that's not working. Okay, that's not a mask. But either way, you can see just a little bit of lightness in the center there, just so it kind of brings up some of the highlights or brings up the shadows in there. Next thing I'll do is stamp visible and then pull the camera reflection out. That should work pretty good.
Definitely my favorite tool.
Yeah, this thing is killer. It didn't work. I already edited these, but this area was kind of tough. I had to clone in that stuff, but the legs and everything else came out super easy. And I got a little bit of stuff going on here, but either way, I mean, you guys know how to use this one. So anyways, just getting all that stuff perfect, blah, blah, blah. Flatten image, come back out. Whoops. Go here. I'm used to just side swiping. Here's the image, finishing interior, add all that contrast and stuff back in, and then just kind of adjust things so we're in the right place. There we go. And I did a little bit more cleanup in the image I'm going to deliver. Like I took this yellow thing off of the fridge here. This was all perfectly done, all that reflection removal, but otherwise, it's pretty much it, guys. Sometimes I'll hit one of those guys. I have an action made to do kind of like a center radial gradient that bumps the exposure up, and then do a little bit of a vignette too, just to kind of bring the edges down and bring the center up and kind of bring focus more into the middle of the picture. But other than that, I mean, pretty much a solid, that's it.
Gary,
Yep.
who was your client for this? Was it an architect? Was it a realtor? What was it?
That's for a realtor.
Realtor,
It's for a
okay.
realtor. Yeah. But the builder was on site, and he has more projects coming up. So I do like to try to go a little bit above and beyond when I know other people are going to be looking at this that were involved in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like, I mean, this is one of my favorite things to do. So when they give me a nice house, I'm gonna do my best work, you know. I just like it. I don't know if it's gonna make that big of a difference to remove this little yellow thing or do little tiny, you know, micro things, but it bothers me, so I go and do it. So I think that's pretty much that's my demo on 1 points, guys. Any questions?
I just had a comment that sometimes, just to play off of what you said about finding that center beam or those center line or lights, sometimes it's good to look down too, because if you've got a wood floor, not only can you find a center on the wood floor, but if you're setting up, say, chairs in a living room, I'm so fucking anal. I'll literally count boards over 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll put the leg on the fourth line, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll put the leg on that line.
Same.
And with bar stools and things like that too, a lot of times if it's wood or tile, you can use those lines to help you make sure that everything's lining up really good.
Another thing I do is I use my foot between the bar stools. I'll stick my foot in there, push the bar stool over to my foot, stick my foot in the next one, push it over, and that way it's the same gap every time.
In dining rooms, put my fists between the table and the chair and measure the chairs out all exact that way.
Yep.
You're also the builder built it square and plumb and straight and everything.
Right. Yeah, that's what you're hoping.
Who let
Sometimes they don't.
Hey, Steven, how's it going?
You can unmute, Steven. We're yeah, not a big deal.
Good.
Oh, Steven must have one of those. Do you have the iMac screen too?
Yeah.
Or,
no,
yeah,
I'm on my MacBook Pro.
Oh, okay. It follows you around, it looks like.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, I've got the same.
Maybe not.
You do.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe it was just David's
France.
camera was just messing with me again.
Get rid of that thing.
Yeah. He said he doesn't know how to turn it off, so.
He's talking about David Palermo's camera.
Oh,
Yeah, it moves. I'm not the camera's not moving. It's software in the system, I guess.
Robots are taking over the world.
Yeah, it's trippy.
AI.
But yeah, guys, so I mean I had all that stuff to go through for the 1 points, but I mean that was pretty much it. I could keep going, but it's just gonna get repetitive, so I don't wanna, waste anybody's time or whatever. But we can talk about anything else if you guys want.
I have a question.
How do I know?
Oh,
good.
So are you using a Cam Ranger? I noticed you had an iPad in the tub.
Mhm.
How do you like
Yeah.
it? Cam Ranger 2? I have not taken the plunge in the Cam Ranger stuff, but I think I want to do that. I want to be able to see, my image where I am actually. You
Yeah,
like it?
I have to use it. I mean, I don't have to like if I'm doing something really quick or like it's like kind of a whatever house or you know, you don't need it, but it makes it so much easier to see what you're doing on the big screen versus the little guy. And then since I'm always off camera and I use multiple lights, like just being able to trigger the camera from where I'm at is super helpful. And like today I was using two lights and I think that house I shot was like 1,700 or 2,000 square feet around there. Um two lights I was done in like an hour and a half and it's pretty it just makes it so much faster to not have to walk back and forth.
Right. And I
Um
use a lot of flash and I want to see what my flash is doing rather than walk all the way back to the camera.
yeah.
Is the Cam Ranger really reliable in your view? Yeah.
It's pretty reliable. I've had some glitches here and there, and I think there was a app update. Like when the Cam Ranger 2 first came out, it wasn't. I don't think it was ready to go yet, quite all the
That's what I've
way.
heard.
Yeah. So I put it down for probably a year, and I just kind of was, banging through stuff and not using a whole lot of flash and whatever. But um, lately, I've been trying to get back into, I want to do the stuff I want to do. So I gotta make sure my production level's higher. And
Mhm.
Cam Rangers, I mean, it's an essential part of my workflow now.
I would say
It's
that
just
probably my best purchase other than my camera.
Yeah. What kind of
yeah,
cameras are you guys using?
I'm on a Canon
Sony.
R6 II.
I'm on a Sony A7 III at the moment.
I'm
I
using
use
Nikon, and I guess hopefully it's pretty reliable on a Nikon. I would assume so,
I'm
but
A
I'm sure
photo
it is.
I
Yeah, a
use the
photographer that I
Nikon.
assist uses a Nikon and a Cam Ranger too, and we never have any problems.
Yeah,
good to
I
know.
use
I think the only one that has an issue is Fuji.
yeah. Fuji doesn't work very well with it.
Yeah,
I use
I
Uh,
only use it on my Sony A7R4.
hmm.
That's the and then I use the Sony A7S III for regular real estate stuff.
Does anybody shoot with the Lumix, those S3s or anything that came out?
My buddy does, and he loves it.
I love uh like a GH5s, and I had a GH5, and I wouldn't mind getting a GH6, but I love the Lumix color production, and I also love how micro four thirds sensors are that the 3:4 ratio.
Yeah, I like
And
3-4.
me too. In Fuji, I kind of rented the GFX 50 from Amazon for a month, and I loved that camera. Like everything except how like it worked because it was kind of glitchy and it didn't. I liked what it produced, but working with it on site was a total pain in the ass, and it did not work with the Cam Ranger. Um, and it was weird, so I had to send it back. But I even looked back at some of the images that I did shoot a few houses with it, some nice ones, and the what it produces is so nice. But
Yeah,
I can't get past
I've had
the
3
Cam Ranger. And
GFXs,
oh
and
yeah,
I just bought the latest one, the 100 GFX2, and talk about night and day, way better than the other ones, an autofocus and
really.
things like that. And I haven't used it for work. I bought it mainly
Mm,
for portraiture and landscapes. But I've heard that it doesn't work well with the Cam Ranger, so I'm, hesitant to bring it to work with a Cam Ranger when I get one. So I probably won't be doing that. But the quality
yeah,
is just incredible of those files.
it's
And
so nice.
I don't like 2:3 at all. I can't stand it. So I always crop to 4:5, or I keep it at 4:3, which I like. And you've got plenty of room on a 102 megapixel
Oh
file.
yeah,
They're
On
just
most mirrorless
beautiful.
cameras, you can adjust the aspect ratio, especially because they've got the electronic viewfinder now. So you're not,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can crop it in camera, so to speak, and still get the raw file. I've actually been
right.
contemplating doing that myself because I use a my second shooter's got an R6 Mark II, and then I've got an R5 and an R3. The R3 is my everyday. And I've been thinking about doing that. I like the width, but our MLS also uses the 4:3 format. So then it would alleviate some minor complaints that I've heard over the years of people having white bars at the top and bottoms of their photos.
Yeah, I've
I
heard
didn't
about
know the
that too.
MLS uses 4.3.
Ours does. I don't know about other
Oh,
MLS.
oh, okay.
I
Huh.
think that it prefers 4.3 in California too. I haven't had many complaints about it recently, but I remember back in the day they would. But the 2.3, it's like it's too wide to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just kind of, it gets stretchy. And then I really like how on a 4.3 or 3.4, like when you use the ultra wide lens, you get the height, but you don't get the super stretchy width.
Mhm.
But I used to crop in camera, but then it's like you would have to do it again later with the raw frames, anyways. It wouldn't stay cropped as a raw.
On Canon?
Hmm.
The older Nikons used to do that, the D800 and the 810, I think. The 850 doesn't, I don't think it holds the crop. Maybe it does. I just don't do it in camera because I want to make sure I have all of the data when I get home.
I haven't tried it, and actually no, I've never tried it. I just know it's possible. So you tried that on your R6?
I tried it on, it was a while ago. I might have been when I had the I don't know, I think it was the R2. But yeah, it's like you can see it in camera, it'll be like a 3:4 ratio, but then when you get it on the computer, it's back to the 2:3.
Oh, well, that's dumb and pointless.
I think it's
Yeah.
good. No, I like that because you're cropping in the field and you get home and you go, man, maybe I shouldn't have cropped, or I want to crop later. I want to get an idea when I'm looking through that, yeah, that's kind of how I want it. But when I get
Yeah, I guess I
home,
wouldn't want it burned in. Like,
well, the
that's the
JPEGs, I
reason
think it's
behind
burned
it.
in.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the
for me,
JPEG.
I would
Yeah.
want it burned in, because like if you're going for just something in the field to crop afterwards, that's what your safety boxes are for or whatever, especially in video. But like
Yeah.
if I'm framing a photo and I know I'm delivering in 4:3, I just want to frame it and have it be done in the format that I'm delivering it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, okay.
Take the headache out of it entirely.
Yeah, it's just like another step I don't want to have to deal with. And then you just got to make sure everything is cropped. And so I just went back to hitting it with 2.3. And I rarely, I mean, I'll crop later, but I'm never cropping aspect ratio really, unless it's a vertical. I always deliver my verticals in 8.5 by 11 crop, just so
Right.
it's like perfect for a magazine cover or something. And I feel like it's just it's like a familiar ratio for everybody to look at. But I used to crop in like a 8 by 10 or like the 4.5 or whatever, and it was fine too. But ever since I started getting on covers here and there, I was like, well, I might as well just crop it for that.
Gary, when did they come out with the results for the PFRE contest?
They lag, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's today? The 4th. I would say if you won, you'll probably get an email within the next like 3 or 4 days asking like for a reply. And then they'll drop it. That like I don't think they dropped it till like the 15th last month though. Yeah, and then it's weird too because it says the contests are open from the 1st to the 20th, but you can't submit anything right now. But you had to have won, dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah. Yours is the best photo by far, in my opinion.
I want to see that photo.
Yeah, really. Show
Go
it.
check it out.
Right.
Where do
I'll
we
pull it
look?
up.
Yeah, you should show how you did it. It's he
Yeah,
showed
I'll pull
me,
it
he
up.
kind of like, yeah, he demoed it for me, and it's pretty cool.
Let me pull it up. Hold on.
Is it on Facebook?
No, I'll pull it up on my end. Is it PRFE? What is the website?
Yeah, PFRE, photography for real estate.
There it is. I just want to see the current contest.
I think it's kitchen this month.
All right, let me pull up the image.
Daniel, you got the ice skating rink?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
I'm
So,
working, I'm working hard, as you can see.
oh yeah.
What do you do
It's
there?
crazy.
Pretty much just at the end of the night, set up the change rooms for the hockey teams, move the nets when I need to, but honestly, it's a lot of walking around doing nothing. Hopping on
Do you
Zoom
get to drive?
calls and
Yeah.
editing
Do you get to
photos.
do you get to drive the Zamboni?
My buddies do. I'm just like a part-timer here, so you have to be full-time to drive it.
Oh really?
But yeah, I
Where
don't
are you
know.
located, Daniel?
I'm Niagara Falls, Canada
Oh, cool.
area.
Beautiful
All
area.
right, I'm gonna share my screen.
Go for it.
Oh, damn, that ain't real
Oh, yeah.
estate. That's
Can y'all see that?
magazine quality.
Yeah, I did see this. Yeah, this is a beautiful shot.
Gorgeous.
So, unfortunately, I had already merged most of the layers down. Can't really see the buildup, just because it got to be so big. But like this was like the base layer. So in this shot here, I have a flash on stand, like kind of behind me, like pointing to the ceiling up here, but on the other side, just to bring up the exposure in the room because I was shooting at like 1/160th of a second just to kill any ambient light. And then I came in with my own flash out here, like a big softbox shooting into the window to give more like kind of like a raking light across. And then inside, I did little spots like I stood over here and flashed this way to kind of like show like that's where the light would be coming from, just to kind of give more dimension. And then I just did like a little levels adjustment to kind of give it more contrast. And then I brought this to me was a little hot, so I brought that down just a little bit.
When
Looking
you're
at it
spot
now,
flashing, sorry, when you're spot flashing, what modifier you're using, or you just bounce like?
so in this case, I only used a like a 7-inch reflector. So it was like bare
Mm.
flash,
So
just
it's
like
hard.
shooting a
It's hard, like a bare reflector. You had no diffuser on it or anything. Wow.
no. But I was, I was running at like probably like 1/128th power, something like not very high.
Mm.
But just to give it a little more like crunch, a little kind of like just not your typical, real estate. Let me show you another one.
Yeah, the other
This was
one
like
he had was
this was the
oh, I
kitchen
didn't
in
see
that
this
same
one.
place. Yeah. Yeah, like this was the kitchen in that place. This one was tough because it was super small, so it wasn't a whole lot of room to work with.
It's really
And
hard to make a black room look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It looks good though.
Yeah.
The blacks are nice and deep.
Yeah. I'll pull
Kind
up
of
the other
reminds me of
one
what
too.
Alan Berry does.
So that's what I was
Barry
trying to
Barry Allen.
that's what I was trying to like simulate. His
Yeah.
stuff is wild.
I don't
And
understand how he says realtors use that. It's mind-boggling to me.
I mean,
My
in
realtors
his market
any of my
and
realtors
what he
using that here.
my
in
realtors
his
would shit
market
their
and what he
pants over something like
does,
that.
Really, they'd like it, you mean?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's
I
two
think
rooms like
they would
this.
be. Yeah, I
This is a
think they
beautiful
would.
shot, but there's no way that a realtor
so
here.
I've delivered all these for real estate shoot.
See, like,
Yeah, I think that
That's a
this-
beautiful
I think
shot.
this
that's
would
just the
I
grunge.
think these would fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
in this
Here-
state, I think this editing style flies because it's got that kind of grunge look and feel to
Yeah.
it. And
This is what
So
I was
this,
talking about, Gary, with interest, with lighting
Yeah.
this
rather
house,
than
Yeah.
just
this
a
was
full light.
a 3-story
Phil-
townhome that they turned the basement into a speakeasy. And here I have all the layers because I shot this one with my A7S III, so the files are super small. So like this
Yeah.
one,
Phil did a
like
good job enhancing everything on this one, and yeah, go ahead, show him what you did here, dude. It's sick.
let me turn them off. Oh wait, why does it keep doing that? I don't want to just do one at a time. Okay, hold on. Let me turn them off one at a time. So this was like the base layer, which again, I just had a flash like off frame, kind of just like shooting into just to give a little light and be able to like see something. And then I brought
But
in
you
a
shot all
little
this
bit
with
closer.
just one light, right?
Yeah, just one light.
Okay.
Just because there's nothing to bounce a light into. Like the ceiling is like brown. There's nothing you can do. And then here I stood like right here and flashed it. And so you like I'm off camera, so you can't see anything. And then
is that a direct flash that you're doing?
yeah, let me turn off the so here you go. This one I did have a
It's you got a
modifier on
modifier.
it.
Okay.
So you can see it now. And I have a grid on it just to keep the light from spilling too far out in different locations. And then this one I kind of wanted to mimic the light coming from this lamp because I'm shooting really fast just to kill any ambient because I want to be able to see kind of like the bulbs and everything. So any light you're getting from this is negligible. So here I'm kind of shooting to showcase this light, and I'm using very small parts of the actual frame. And
And you
here,
have
this is
your
just
layers
for the
set to
table.
lighten too.
Yeah, they're all set to lighten, which helps keep the light from hitting, different areas. So this really was just for this and a little bit over here. And this was just to bring some more light into this side of the couch. And then here's this light turned on. I didn't use much of that. I think this was just for this plant over here. And then this was just for that sign, just to give it a little punch. And that was it. That was all the rest I used. Everything else I didn't use. I tried to use this, but I thought that it just got to be too much.
Yeah, you cut it off at a good place, dude.
Yeah. Don't save. I like this shot, but it's okay.
See me, I don't think that this one's too dark. The ones I've seen that I think are too dark would be like there would be no detail in the shadows really, I've seen like there would just be like a hot spot here, or I guess you're not seeing my screen, but yeah, you'd see a hot spot on the table there, and then everything else would be like pretty much black.
I mean,
Which
like
that's
for me, like any of the dark spots, there's nothing interesting there anyway. Like over here,
yeah.
it's just a wall. Over here, it's just a wall. But you see like the chair, so it gives you the little idea. And I tried to get a little of the light to come across the ceiling because this ceiling was like, it looks like tin, but it's like plastic, so it kind of looks like an old timey ceiling.
No, it's good to get you get enough detail
Yeah.
from like you get to get that texture from it and stuff, and then you
Yeah.
also can tell like it's a little bit reflective.
Yeah.
There's enough elements in it to show, the detail of all that, and it's just enough, like our
Yeah.
brains will fill in a lot of the other information.
Yeah. Looking now, I wish I would have put a gradient on this TV. I should have done that, but it's too late. This was a tough 1 point because nothing was square in this place. All fucked up.
Can I see the breakdown of the players on that guy?
On this one?
Yeah. If you don't mind.
Yeah. So this was my base layer. I tried hard to kill more of this, but it just wasn't. It got too dark. So this was the only white I could bounce the light off of without it getting too harsh. And then I shot into it just to kind of light up this pole, which this was such a pain in the ass because it was so reflective that it really just got a big hot spot on it. Which was to get a little kiss of the light more on the pole. And then, oh shit. This was just for that area, more for that area, but a little bit wider. And some of this like cup right here. This was a big one just to kind of light up this area a little bit more, a little more dimension. Poker table. And a little more of the poker table. And then I used
really
I used frequency separation to fix this hot spot on here, which is a giant pain in the ass.
These are the kind of shots that when somebody says, well, I can shoot all these homes with an iPhone, you can't do this with an iPhone unless you've got the flashes, but no one's going to do that. And it gives a really interesting dimension to the image. Whole different.
But like, you know,
yep.
But like someone was saying, you know, in most markets, this would never fly. You know, an agent would never want to use this, just because most homeowners aren't going to appreciate it. Now, I liken it, and I told the agents who I did these for, like, you know, this is just a showstopper to stop someone from scrolling. And that's all it's for. After that, you know, the other images are all normal.
I'm just wondering, like, it's such a unique style, and a lot of this is like what I'm interested in. Like, I don't like the light and bright stuff. Like, I'm really into the mood and stuff, and so I'm kind of building up on my base ambience with some flash, and I'm obviously starting like with the much darker ambient. But like, how did you just kind of self-teach yourself this, or like how did you learn style?
I come from more of the portrait world.
Okay.
So I'm really well versed in how to use off-camera lighting, you know, for like doing like headshots, things like that. Whereas I think a lot of real estate photographers don't know a lot of that stuff and how to do like different lighting setups for portraits, you know, from clamshell to what do they call it? Rembrandt and all different kinds of things, you know.
Core lighting and
yeah, you know, you having to use, you know, like I'll do headshots and I'll use 5, 6 lights for just a headshot, just to kind of give the look I want to give. And the biggest thing I can tell you is when you're going to like photograph one of these scenes, like this scene, all this light, this would happen naturally. You know, if the sun was right here coming through these windows, this is where the light would come in. You know, you're just enhancing them a little bit. You know, that's why whenever I light a scene like this, I'm lighting it how the sun, how the light should really be coming in the room.
So
you try to mimic it a little bit.
Yeah. For this scene, what, like, obviously you killed all the ambient. When you're in the room, like shooting these off, is it nice and bright in the room at that moment, or was it actually already kind of dark?
Let me see if I can find you the actual raw files.
Because that's what I can't tell if I'm trying to find mood where there isn't, because I'm striving for that look so much and I'm shooting big bright rooms, and if I should just like, it's already big bright, like just leave it as it is, and like if I get a designer who did like a moody, you know, room and it's already dark, then try to find the mood. Like, I just don't know if I'm searching for it where it's really not.
Wait,
Yeah.
capture you use capture
one.
Wow.
Yeah. Capture one. Capture one.
Let's talk about that next week. I'd like to learn about that.
I have
so here. Oh shit. Capture one kills Lightroom. It's so much better. So here's the base exposure. This is just with a little bit of flash out here. The rest is like here's more flash coming in. Yeah, see, this was a 7-inch reflector. I was having to turn it down. I forgot my fucking iPad that day, so I had to use my phone. It was miserable.
Yeah, the phone doesn't work as good as the iPad does.
I
The
think
images,
it's just not as it's harder to use with one hand, you know, because I have like a strap for my iPad, so I can like rest it against my chest and everything.
well,
And
what I notice is that the iPad refreshes a lot quicker. And like when you make an adjustment, you like see it happen live. And on the phone, it's like it's lagged
yeah,
versus the iPad.
yeah, these were all the different shots I took that for this house that day. Why does it
But
keep doing
Daniel, I
that?
think to create mood, you would just stop down, dude. You know what I mean? Like try to get your highlights to a place where you want them, and in on interiors, like if you get your windows, exposed to the right place, or like if you're looking for mood, just stop down, and then you got to start bringing everything up with flash, and then you're more or less going to be spot treating areas. Maybe not lighting like I do exactly with like a big fill, and then bringing up more stuff. um I can go over some more moody stuff too. That would, I mean, I guess Phil just
Let me
did it,
show
but
you. I'll show you what the regular photos look like for that house. Just give you an idea of like the difference.
Yeah, because that's honestly that's what I'm shooting more interior design stuff, and so I want to be able to achieve that.
mm,
And I'm happy with like my normal bright exposures, but yeah, like achieving that mood is
And this was all flambient for this place. Yeah, this place had a urinal in the
place has a
bathroom. It was
urinal in
awesome.
there, man. Oh
Yeah,
my
it's pretty
Jeez.
sweet.
I think that's the smartest idea ever.
So here's that same position, just
yeah.
in like a normal like flambient shot.
I
Both
got
work great, I think.
yeah,
Um,
both are amazing.
and you can see like the light coming in. You're getting those kind of like lines from the frame and the windows and
Natural light.
everything.
Wow.
Yeah, this place was cool. It was three shops in this downtown and where I live that this dude bought and turned into like this three-story condo.
And this is for a realtor?
Hmm.
So they didn't say anything about the lights being off?
Oh, so
I'm
I
just
will
curious.
ask when I go into a place and be like, do you care if I turn the lights off? Because that's how I shoot it. And most of the time, everyone's like, you're the expert. You do what you want to do.
Oh, that's good.
And I'll say, hey, I'll shoot it if you want the lights on, but I tell them why I don't like to do it.
Yeah, I do that
Yeah,
too, but what mine say is, well, the open house, we're gonna have the lights on. We want the pictures to kind of match.
I
And I
always
get it.
Uh,
I totally get that, but
so what I tell them is, and this always shuts them up, is our eyes are really good at balancing the interior light and exterior light.
yeah.
Cameras are not. Like if you have a bunch of yellow lights that are on in this place and the light coming from the outside is blue, they're gonna fight really hard and it just makes the editing a lot really challenging. That's how you get the color casting.
that's
So I mean I say if we can turn the lights off, I bring my own light in for flambient, like it's gonna look, fantastic. And I'll turn them on when I have to turn them on if there's no like natural
like
ambient light,
this
like this
room.
bathroom. But I
Yeah,
shoot it really fast, like 1/160th. So all you're getting is just the light, like pretty much right here.
Mhm.
Everything else
yeah.
is,
And then
flash.
my other answer for when they ask, like, because most of the time they don't really question me on like what my choices are. They're kind of like, you're the professional, you do what you want to do. But like if they come in and they're like, oh, you're gonna shoot with the lights off, and I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, that's different. I've never heard of that before. I mean, is it gonna be bright enough? And I'd be like, well, if you look through any like interiors or high-end interiors magazine, they're always going to have the lights off. But MLS is lights on, you know. So I like to. It's like I'm trying to go for magazine quality here, not just whatever is good for the MLS, you know. And usually they want the same thing. They want magazine
Yeah.
style. If you say that to them, they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, I want that too," you know.
Like this is my HDR, like lights off, I think I think it looks so much better than if you have the lights turned on.
So you edited your like moody photos yourself? Are you outsourcing your
Yeah, I
ambient and
yeah,
because you
I
I
don't
see
have
you're
time
doing
for
a
all
lot
that
of work.
bullshit.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would only, and I'm charging the people who want to do that moody stuff. I charge what was it, like 150 or 250 per image?
For your real estate people?
No, for the moody, like when I'm calling like avant-garde
Yeah,
style.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean it just takes too long. It's
Yeah.
you're talking 25 minutes per image on site, and
Yeah,
then another hour on the computer. So
And how many do
yeah.
you delivered quite a few for that Moody one, eh?
I only delivered for that one. Let's see. For the one with the what do you call it? The speakeasy, I delivered three.
Oh, okay.
And then the other one I just delivered I think like three or two.
Oh, okay.
But
Which
those two I
makes
did for
which,
free because I was just trying to like get it out there. Um
So what do? You
but
edit them
it's
first and
kind
then
of on it's
and
kind
then
of on
show.
par with a twilight image that you light up like that, though. You know, it takes a long time for a
yeah,
twilight like that,
I did
and it's
four.
pretty much the
I
same
did
price.
four. Yeah.
Philip, are you editing them first and then presenting them to your client, saying, "Well, if you want these, it's going to be this much money," in
So
hopes that
for
they will
these
buy it?
two people, I just did it on my own and
Okay.
just gave it to them because I knew like when I walked in this place, I was like, oh my God, I gotta do that for this place. And then the other agent saw it and she's like one of my best clients. I was like, hey, I want to do it for your place. And now like anyone who wants me to do it, um, they've seen what it looks like. I just like this is what it costs.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't want to do it, and that's fine with me. Like I know like a lot of photographers like they'll bend and just say, yeah, like I'll lower my prices. I never lower my prices. If they ask for like I can't afford it, like can you do better? No, go somewhere else.
Yeah, I just had that happen today, and I stuck to my guns.
Yeah.
I had somebody call me about a week ago, and we went through the whole thing. I told them what I would give them and all that, and then they asked for a quote, and I told them, and they said, "Oh wow, you're pretty expensive. What happened?" Oh,
They'll stop sharing.
and I said, "Well, yeah, I am, but I typically focus on luxury properties and things like that." And I said, "Take a look at my website." And they go, "Oh yeah, these are really good." And I said, "Well, that's what you're paying for." And then he said, "Well, I'll talk to my wife and I will see." And that usually means goodbye. We're not going to hire you. The next day,
Yeah.
they if you can make, I think, yourself exclusive and higher tier and back it up, like, your stuff is just amazing.
And those clients are so much better. They
Yeah,
don't question
Yeah,
people
anything.
argue.
They just say, do what you want to do. Just send me the bill. I don't care.
Yeah, I
yeah.
never have
It's the
an
ones
argument
who
about lights on or lights off because that's not my client.
I had a
and I
client.
don't know.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know like if any of you are like more volume based, but
Mm-mm.
I know like that's like the big thing now with like all the gurus out there like oh I shoot 50 60 homes a month and you're grinding your ass off for
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
that can't last
And
forever with these
all
guys.
those agents who want the cheapest rate, you constantly have to churn and build new clients because they just go to the next person who can give them a better deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a an Airbnb property manager reach out to me, and he had a couple properties he wanted photographed, and I told him it would be at least like before I even knew the size, at least 350, which was on the low end for me. At the time, I didn't do many of them, and he literally got angry with me. He's like, "I've never paid that much before for any of my Airbnbs. That's ridiculous." Blah blah blah. I got so mad.
Jeez.
Sure enough, I went to his profile, and the photos were just shit. And I'm like, "Wow, okay." I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
Why
Yeah,
does
you can see
do
why.
people bother yelling at you? Just move on, you know? If they're not used
Yeah.
to your price, go to someone else.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
It's like
understand that.
there's a reason you're calling me and not the person who did all
Yeah,
your
exactly. They like what they saw.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite sayings, and I'm sure the Daves have probably heard this because it's an old one, I think, but good photography isn't cheap, and cheap photography isn't good.
Yeah.
Like
Pick two out of these three. Cheap,
yeah.
fast, or expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can only pick two. So I
Oh
like
no,
that.
it's good. Cheap, fast, or good. Which ones do you want? Yeah.
Cheap, fast, or good. Right.
Yeah. Because you only get
And
two.
luckily
Well, I want all
nowadays
three.
you can do fast with the what do you call it? Outsourcing.
Mm.
Yes, sometimes I do that with the mid-range to lower end homes, but I just haven't let go of the high end homes. I have to do that on my own. And usually when I outsource, I always have to fix some things. But it gets, you know, it's a
Mhm.
ballpark. It gets me there. And no one's
Yeah.
complaining about it. So
Just need to find a better editor.
what's that?
Yeah, it's tough.
You gotta find a better editor. When I found my guy, it's like I've never touched anything anymore. You send
Yeah,
them to
that's
me and I
great.
just send them to the client. I never have to worry about it.
Oh, that's nice.
I gotta find one of those.
Yeah, it's tough. Have you guys checked out I think her name is Jamie Gregg?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so Jamie is an amazing editor.
Yeah.
She actually reached out
And
to me one time because she had an overflow and she couldn't get it all done. So she reached out to me and was like, "Do you have any time to edit photos?" And I was like, "How many? And like, when do you need them?" And she's like, "Oh, 40, and I need them back in like 2 days." And I was like, "I'm not your guy. Like, I feel like I'm a good editor, but I'm slow. Like, I don't have the actions
yeah.
all set up like a seasoned retoucher, like I go very per photo. But
Well,
yeah, she
Yeah.
does good
the
work.
big overseas editors, they have, 10, 20 people on their team and they each do, 2 or 3 photos.
Yeah.
That's how they can get all that done. So there's just no way.
Were you mentioning her
Especially
because she just started her real estate portion?
Yeah, sure. So I was just talking with her, and she the real estate side of her editing thing just started like 2 weeks ago, and she sent me some samples, and they look super clean. Her the retouching company is called Semblance.
Yeah, I have their website
SEM
up right now.
yeah, SEMBLANCE retouching, and her work that she edits is freaking insane. Super good.
She
It's
does
like
a lot of high-end stuff. She's like, so I know a really big photographer that I assist up in Toronto here. He often uses her to edit the photos that end up in magazines and stuff that he
yeah.
does.
I've
She,
used Jamie for like 5 years. And
yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah, oh yeah. I use her for all my commercial stuff goes to Jamie. All my aircraft all goes to Jamie.
Yeah, I
Really?
guess you can do that if you're shooting, high paying kind of jobs, but for
Yeah,
real
stuff
estate,
that
I
you
don't
don't
think.
need turned around in a day or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use
Yeah, we
Greg
were
Pierce. I use
I've
Greg
used
Pierce
that
for a
company,
lot of
Gary,
that
that I
stuff.
mentioned. Sorry.
okay. Sorry.
I've used that
No,
company
I
in
use
New York.
Greg Pierce for a lot of that stuff for my high end commercial stuff.
And we were
The
talking about
Rum Creative,
House,
RUUM.
and there's
Mm.
House Tribeca in New York, which Gary, we talked about last time.
They're
Yeah.
expensive, but
They
they're
are
good.
expensive.
That
They're
was
very good.
$200 an hour.
$200 an hour or so. They're good. But
Yeah.
yeah, they are expensive. Jamie's not
Yeah.
expensive like that. I would think she would be up there.
10 to 20 an image.
What?
10 to 20 an image.
Really? Wow. Think I'll be calling
It's
her.
not worth it in the United States to edit.
Well, like her prices, they start around there, but if it ends up becoming like hotel stuff where there's
Hmm.
smoothing out sheets and stuff, she goes up to I think about like 50 plus an image. Like
Yeah, it's got to be based on time at some point, just because
Yeah.
you put more time in, it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's even her real estate stuff. I think she said it's $2 an image, and that's
yeah,
in Twilights, Flambient, HDR, anything. And that's pretty reasonable
Very
for
reasonable.
What's the
in my
website?
eyes.
It's semblance. Semblance. Semblance retouching.com. SEMBLANCER, and then
I found it.
retouching.
Yeah,
Real estate.
yeah, and that
She must have a team then to do a
she
lot of the
does.
quickie real estate stuff.
She
For
does.
$2 a pic, an
But
image. Yeah.
she's training them though, herself. Her assistant it speaks the language. So um I think the
So
language barrier is one of the toughest things
yeah.
to deal with, you know what I mean?
So she'll
But
probably
yeah,
have really good consistency then, which is something that's
um
lacking with a lot of these places.
yeah, especially long term.
Yeah.
That's been my struggle.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna give her a shot this week actually with the real estate stuff, and then as soon as I get high end stuff, I mean, if it's in the budget, it's going to her for sure.
my buddy just sent some stuff off to her, and he also uses eSoft. I don't know if any of you guys have used them.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
And the comparison, hers was a lot more natural. It was really good. Like
Yeah,
they
I like her shadows and
comparative.
stuff.
Yeah, they were comparative to a point, but every time he sent me the one that Esoft did and Jamie, he would send them out of order and be like, "Who did what?" Every time I knew which one was Jamie's. So, I mean, I guess
Mm,
that means something.
yeah, she has a style.
It was
Yeah,
one of the
looks good.
photos she posted, and it was a really good moment for me as an editor as well, because I'm always like wanting top tier edits every time. And if the lighting isn't good, you can only do so much. And so she had a set that she posted, and they were all amazing photos of the living room. And then one of the shots is lit from behind. So it's just flattening out everything. And even though
Mm-hmm.
she's an amazing editor, I was like, that's a really good example of why you never shoot with like the light to your back,
Yeah,
because the difference, amazing editing or not, the difference in the image itself is just like, yeah, it was a crazy difference.
yeah. There's some stuff you can do to kind of fake it a little bit, but lighting's it's up there on the importance scale for sure.
Yeah, her stuff online is lit very well. These
Oh
they're
yeah,
not just they're not all ambient shots. I mean, there's a lot of flash in there and stuff.
Yeah.
Most
yeah.
they're clean though.
Well, guys, I'm gonna take
Yeah.
off. But I'll see you on the next one.
Oh yeah, it's all
Nice
right, dude.
meeting you.
It's 6:30. Yeah, I think I'm gonna
Beautiful
cut out
work.
too, guys. I gotta get dinner.
Yeah, me too.
I should probably get back to work.
All right. All right, Phil. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Good seeing you.
guys.
We'll see
Bye,
you.
thanks.
Yep.
Bye.
Next week.
Yep.
All right,
sounds
later.
Yep.
good.
All right,
Bye.
bye.